What's up, everybody? Marvel the Cross 316 back with another comic book flashback. Today we are looking at Ultimate Spider-Man issue number 49, and today's title is Hero. We see Kingpin on the cover today, and Spider-Man's spider sense is going off. And so, what is going to happen in today's issue? We saw that Peter Parker in the last two issues is dealing with not only losing his job, but also being suspended from school. So we start out the issue today, and we have J. Jonah Jameson walking out of the Daily Bugle. He's going to the parking garage to go to his car when all of a sudden he's going to be met by the enforcers, Montana, Ox, just these three goons here that work for the Kingpin. And so we see here also Fancy Dan, that's the other guy. And so we see here that the three enforcers are going to try to rough up J. Jonah Jameson here because it appears to be, and I don't know who this guy is, but anyway, he looks like he's been knocked out. But anyway, it looks like Jameson has changed his mind about supporting Sam Bullock. And so now, because of that, Kingpin has sent the enforcers to rough up J. Jonah Jameson here so that Jameson will change his mind and support Sam Bullock. And so Ox says, I think he's speechless. And we see Montana says, I've never seen that before. What? Someone actually struck speechless. You hear about it? I mean, sure, but I've never actually ever seen it. Well, there it is. What do you think he's thinking? Wouldn't know, because he's speechless. And so they're going to try to intimidate Jameson here. And we see that Montana's like, I mean, if I knew for sure just how powerful Sam Bullock's friends were or how important he was to the Kingpin, I would never, ever, ever have done that. No, I actually think it's something along the lines of, how dare you threaten me, J. Jonah Jameson, publisher at large of the Daily Bugle, read by 5 million New Yorkers every day. I cower before no man. I cower to no threat. You can't threaten me or my wife. Ha, yeah, ha. Actually, I think it's more like I made a huge effing error in judgment, and I'm going to do everything in my power to rectify the situation. So we see here, Jameson is surrounded by the enforcers when all of a sudden, as they're talking, we hear a voice say, oh man, this sucks. I was all proud of myself for thinking of sneaking into this garage to give Jameson crap, but seriously, how clever an idea could have been if you guys thought of it too. I mean, really. So Spider-Man is going to come to the aid of J. Jonah Jameson. So that's very interesting here. And he said, how many times am I going to have to fight you guys? And I said, do y'all ever go to jail and remain in jail? He said, I came here to give this idiot behind me a what for all the crap he prints about me. But instead, here I am in front of you guys again, and I tell you, truth told, I really don't like any of you. And now I actually have to kick you guys' dingles to save his. Well, that puts me in one of those positions where all of a sudden they're going to start firing at Spider-Man. We see Jameson is shoved out of the way of the gunfire, and Spider-Man is going to dodge all of these bullets here. I mean, this is rapid fire succession here from, it looks like Montana. And so we're seeing here that Fancy Dan is going to try to use his rope as well. Jameson is out of the way. He's just watching this take place right in front of him. We see that one bullet hits the leg of Ox here. He says, "Ah!" And he goes to Montana and says, "You idiot!" And it's funny stuff. He said, Dude, I never would. Behind you." Spider-Man's going to hit Ox with one fell swoop here. And so we see that Ox and them are going to be webbed up here, but Ox is not going to go down without a challenge here. Going to try to fight him as much as he can. Ox is going to crash into this car. I mean, he can crush cars with just one strike with his fist here. And that's how powerful Ox is. And we see here all of a sudden one of the bullets grazes Spider-Man's arm here, so he feels that and he falls down to the ground. Ox grabs a hold of him, and Ox is still mad at Montana here. He said, "You shot me." Montana says, "Yeah, okay, you shot me." Montana says, "Let's just deal with the problem at hand." We see that Jameson's trying to call 911, but he has no service. He said, "Dude, it's a guaranteed lifetime gold pass from the fat man if we deliver." No, no, listen. "Dude, you cannot kill him in front of the newspaper guy." Ox says, "Nah, it's done." Montana says, "That guy, he ain't gonna say nothing. Look at him, he messed his pants." And we see Fancy Dan says, "It's murder, and murder is murder. This is New York, and I ain't going to fry over this guy in his tights. If we kill the fruit cup here, then we have to kill Jameson too, and Kingpin said not to." All of a sudden, Jameson says, "Your names? Your names are Montana Bell, Fancy Dan Rubenstein, and you, Ox, your real name is Bruno Sanchez. How long have you worked for Wilson Fisk, a.k.a. the Kingpin?" So what we see here is that Jameson now is using his cell phone to record the conversation he's having with the enforcers to try to trap them. And Montana's like, "What the heck are you doing? Are you serious?" So Jameson is buying enough time for Spider-Man to give Ox one epic wedgie here, and it rips the underwear. Oh my gosh. So that had to be painful here. And Spider-Man's going to connect heads with Montana and Fancy Dan. And Ox tries his best to get to Spider-Man once again. One big punch to the jaw, another punch, and another punch. And he said, "Fall down!" And he pushes Ox into the car here. And he's like, "Ah." And then Spider-Man's like, "Well?" Jameson's like, "Well, what? I'm not leaving here until I get a thank you." "All right, thank you." Now, was that so hard? Yes. And so Jameson asks Spider-Man, exactly why do you wear a mask? Why are you a hero? Heroes don't wear masks. He said, "Are you like a disfigured mutation or something? Is that why you wear a mask?" And Spider-Man says, "The only disfigured mutation I see is that haircut." The police show up at the scene and they discover that Spider-Man was responsible for defeating the enforcers. And we see that Montana's like, "Seriously, guys, I'm breaking up the team. We suck." And so Peter Parker is making his way back to Queens here when all of a sudden he's like, "What the crap?" And we see that Jameson is sitting on his front porch steps here. And he said, "Mr. Jameson?" He said, "Kid, I have a lot to explain." And he said, "I had an unusually bad day at work today, but that's not why I dragged myself all the way out here to the nightmare world that is Queens. Well, it's part of the reason, but it's not the whole reason." Peter looks up and he sees that Aunt May is looking on the conversation here. We find out here that Jameson had a son, and we find out that he was an astronaut and he died in some kind of explosion, technical malfunction. And he said, "What kind of malfunction?" He's trying to figure out. And I keep telling him it was classified. So he has all this pent up anger about the loss of his son. He says his son was a hero. He was an astronaut, a real hero. And he didn't wear a mask. But we see here that he thinks that Spider-Man, he just can't get his mind wrapped around the fact that Spider-Man is seen as a hero when really it's just that he wears a mask. I just can't understand it. And he said, "I made a big fool of myself firing you, Peter." And he said, "I'm going to give you your job back, okay? I just made a fool of myself. And I shouldn't have used my anger out on you." And so we see Peter's like, "Well, that's okay. I mean, maybe I am too young to work there." He said, "Oh, nonsense, Peter." And what he does is he's going to give Peter his job back, and he's going to assign Peter to work with Ben Urich so that Peter Parker can see the city for himself. And so we can understand each other? Yeah. He said, "All right, good boy." And so Peter has his job back. That's awesome. So Peter suits up as Spider-Man, and we see Kingpin is having dinner here. And this is funny. Spider-Man is sitting at the table with Kingpin. The newspaper says Kingpin cronies below lid. And he said, well, today it's the headline, but I like the gossip column. It always tells you where all the famous fat people like to eat, and here you are, like every day, eating for two. He said, the entire world knows you're a murderer and a liar and a thief, even though murderers should be plenty, and you can just walk about the city and everyone makes nice. Everyone kisses your tushas, which I grant you is an act that could take the better part of a week. So Spider-Man's throwing all these fat jokes at Kingpin. Kingpin is not even reacting at all to this, really. He said, well, young man, I tell you what you see. You see the face of the man that one day will find out who you really are. And he said, and where you go to school, because no one knows, so because someone out there knows who you really are, and I'm going to find out. And we see Kingpin is threatening Spider-Man here, and he's basically saying, I'm going to find out who you really are one day. And when I do, your life is over. And that's how we end this issue, folks. Up next, we're looking at the big issue number 50. And so that's a big milestone in this series. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens next issue in issue number 50. And so go ahead now and give this video a like. Comment down below what you liked about this issue. Subscribe if you have not. And I will see y'all in the next one.